Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases. Today's critique examines a SpeakDuo English lesson plan centered around a TED Talk on resilience. You can go to SpeakDuo.com to meet new people from around the world who are practicing English on video calls. So let's jump right in. The lesson successfully introduces valuable advanced vocabulary, but it misses a critical opportunity to deeply integrate the anchored TED Talk's narrative into the practice exercises.
Right. I'm really glad we're starting there. Because, when I first opened this document and saw the anchor text, it's Jane Marie Chen's really personal TED Talk about losing everything. I was immediately invested.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a heavy, compelling topic.
It is. But the weakness here is that the current practice questions are entirely disconnected from that stated theme of, losing everything and resilience. When you look at the slides the students actually use, the prompts rely on incredibly generic scenarios.
Yeah, like starting a new business or just reading reports, right?
Exactly. Or deciding to learn Italian. By doing this, the material completely abandons the emotional weight of the video. Let's look at one of the phrases they teach, for instance. To throw yourself into something.
Oh, that's a great phrase. And, for advanced learners, we really need to highlight the nuance there. It's not just to start doing something, which is super passive. To throw yourself into something means to passionately start a brand new activity with a tremendous amount of focused energy and, high enthusiasm.
Right. The energy is key. You wouldn't just say, I started a hobby. You'd say something like to a colleague at work, after the merger fell through, I just decided to throw myself into the new marketing campaign to stay busy.
Or if you're answering a question in, say, IELTS Speaking Part 2, and they ask about a time you learned a new skill, you could say, I was so fascinated by coding that I completely threw myself into it. But in the lesson plan, they ask, what new hobby will you completely throw yourself into this year?
Which is it's so lightweight compared to the TED Talk.
It really is. So my suggestion is to align the context of the vocabulary practice directly with the thematic, emotional weight of the source video. This reinforces both the language and the lesson's core message.
Makes sense. How would that look in practice, though?
Well, as a concrete example, instead of that generic hobby question, tailor the prompt to the video. When facing a major setback like the speaker did, what new project would you throw yourself into to rebuild your confidence?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that carries so much more gravity. And speaking of a setback, that's another phrase they introduce.
Right, expression 3. And let's clarify that one too. A setback isn't a total, final failure. It's accurately defined as a specific problem or unexpected issue that significantly delays your ongoing daily progress or, makes it worse.
Exactly. Like telling your boss, we experienced a major setback when our main investor pulled out, but we can still recover.
Yeah, but again, for a concrete example of how to fix the prompt, instead of a generic corporate scenario, ask students to discuss a specific hurdle the speaker faced. Like, what was the most significant setback Jane Marie Chen described?
That forces them to actually engage with the narrative. I love that. So, moving on, a key theme running through this material seems to be how the author weaves the platform's technical features, like AI feedback, throughout the document.
The integration of the platform's promotional and technical features alongside the core vocabulary content creates a disjointed and disruptive learning experience.
Yeah, is there a risk that focusing on these administrative things just actively ruins the immersion we just talked about?
Totally. The weakness is placing promotional text about a 7-day free trial and highly specific AI grammar feedback right amidst emotionally heavy vocabulary.
Like when they teach the phrase, to numb someone.
Right. And the nuance of to numb is so specific. It's not just to ignore. To numb means to cause a specific individual a massive amount of continuous daily worry. Wait, no, sorry, that's weighing heavily. To numb is to dull your emotions, to stop feeling the pain of a profound loss.
Yeah, like after a stressful day, you might say to a coworker, I just want to watch TV and numb my brain.
Exactly. Or an IELTS Part 2 response about handling stress. I realized I was just trying to numb myself instead of dealing with a problem. And the other phrase you mentioned, For a situation to weigh heavily on someone, that's the one that means to cause a specific individual a massive amount of continuous daily worry, severe stress, or profound sadness.
Right. Not just it makes me stressed, but a deep, lingering burden. Like the decision to lay off the staff weighed heavily on the manager.
So imagine you're a student, deeply exploring what it means for trauma to weigh heavily on you, and suddenly, bam, an AI pop-up corrects your pronunciation of the word yeah.
Oh, that would totally rip you right out of the moment.
It severely disrupts the cognitive pacing. So the suggestion here is to segregate the administrative or technical onboarding screens from the immersive thematic lesson material. You have to protect the learner's focus.
That's a really solid rule. How do we actually do that in the layout?
Concrete examples. Consolidate all the Get AI feedback promotions, the app links, and specific grammar corrections into a distinct pre-lesson preparation or post-lesson review module.
I see. That ensures breakout rooms 1 through 4 flow continuously without those annoying commercial interruptions.
Exactly.
Now, as I understand it from the notes, the argument here is that this vocabulary list provides a really comprehensive suite of expressions for advanced learners.
That makes sense. But could the evidence also support a different conclusion, like the selection of expressions is robust, yet the sequential ordering lacks a cohesive emotional or narrative arc for the learner to follow during the session?
Yes, that is a massive weakness. The vocabulary jumps completely erratically.
It really does. Like, you start with positive enthusiasm, then immediately drop into severe distress. It creates this jarring emotional whiplash. Let's talk about the rest of these phrases to show what we mean. They start with to pour your soul into something, which, just to be clear, is way stronger than working hard. It means to put all of your deep energy, emotion, and intensive hard work into successfully completing a demanding task.
Like telling your boss, I poured my soul into this quarterly report. Or in IELTS, I poured my soul into learning the piano.
Right. So they start with that high energy, but then pretty soon they hit them with to confront.
Which is super heavy. It means to bravely and directly face a remarkably difficult problem, an extremely uncomfortable situation, or a person.
Yeah. Like, I finally had to confront my colleague about taking credit for my work.
And then they jump to push past your limits, meaning to stubbornly keep going and trying incredibly hard, even when you mentally and physically feel fully exhausted.
Exactly. We had to push past our limits to meet the product launch deadline. But wait, they also mix in to connect the dots in there, which is totally analytical.
Right, which means to finally completely understand a complex situation by accurately putting different pieces of data together now. Like, after reading the financial statements, I finally connected the dots on why we were losing money.
And it abruptly ends on to let go and a turn of events. By the way, a turn of events isn't just any change. It's a remarkably sudden, incredibly surprising, or completely unexpected shift within a perfectly normal situation.
Like, in a shocking turn of events, the CEO resigned this morning.
Right. So having the learner bounce between all these drastically different emotional states, from analytical to depressed to enthusiastic, it just exhausts them.
So what's the fix?
The suggestion is to restructure the order of the vocabulary to deliberately mirror the chronological journey of resilience described in the lesson's title. Tell a story.
Oh, I like that. What are some concrete examples of that order?
Start with ambition, to pour your soul into something. Next, introduce the conflict, a setback, which begins to weigh heavily.
That makes total sense. Then the coping mechanisms?
Exactly. First to numb, then the turning point, to confront. Finally, the resolution, to push past your limits, to let go, and a positive turn of events.
That allows the breakout rooms to naturally evolve from discussing initial goals to overcoming failures. It's so much smoother.
It really is. So now that we've gone through all the nuances of these advanced phrases, let's test our audience with a quick review quiz.
Sounds like fun. I'm ready.
All right, what is the best definition of the phrase to pour your soul into something? Is it option A, to put all of your deep energy, emotion, and intensive hard work into successfully completing a demanding task. Option B, to completely detach yourself from a highly emotional situation in order to make a perfectly objective decision. Or option C, to continuously complain about a profoundly frustrating situation without making any real attempt to resolve it.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
And the answer is option A. To pour your soul into something means putting all that deep energy and intensive hard work in.
Right. Just like our example of pouring your soul into that quarterly report for your boss. Okay, my turn. If someone manages to connect the dots, what exactly have they achieved? Option A, to meticulously analyze a vast amount of random financial data before making a major corporate investment choice. Option B, to finally completely understand a complex situation by accurately putting different pieces of data together now. Or option C, to purposefully confuse a remarkably straightforward situation by introducing completely irrelevant new variables.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option B. To connect the dots means you finally understand a complex situation by accurately putting those pieces of data together.
Yep, like finally connecting the dots on why the company was losing money. Next question. How is a setback accurately defined within the context of the lesson? Option A, a highly profound realization that completely alters your professional trajectory and leads to massive success. Option B, an incredibly detailed and exceptionally complex investigation into a surprisingly severe corporate bad mistake. Or option C, a specific problem or unexpected issue that significantly delays your ongoing daily progress or makes it worse.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option C. A setback is a specific problem or unexpected issue that significantly delays your progress.
Exactly, like a main investor pulling out. Next up, what happens when you decide to throw yourself into something? Is it option A, to passionately start doing a brand new activity with a tremendous amount of focused energy and high enthusiasm? Option B, to deliberately isolate oneself from a deeply supportive group during a remarkably stressful professional event? Or option C, to accidentally reveal a highly hidden secret that immediately ruins a previously strong and reliable agreement?
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
It's option A. To throw yourself into something means to passionately start doing a brand new activity with a tremendous amount of focused energy.
Like throwing yourself into a new marketing campaign after a failed merger. All right, which of the following describes what it means to confront someone or something? Option A, to successfully avoid any interaction with a remarkably difficult colleague to maintain a peaceful environment. Option B, to bravely and directly face a remarkably difficult problem, an extremely uncomfortable situation, or a person. Or option C, to successfully negotiate a significantly lower financial purchase price for a remarkably expensive new property.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option B. To confront means to bravely and directly face a remarkably difficult problem, situation, or person.
Like confronting that coworker who took credit for your work. Okay, next. What occurs when a specific situation begins to weigh heavily on someone? Option A, to aggressively enforce an incredibly strict and severely limiting set of regulations during a casual meeting. Option B, to physically detach a heavy wooden object from its original metal frame to secretly access a guarded storage. Or option C, to cause a specific individual a massive amount of continuous daily worry, severe stress, or profound sadness.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option C. For something to weigh heavily on someone means to cause a specific individual a massive amount of continuous daily worry or severe stress.
Yeah, like the heavy burden of having to lay off staff. Okay, next one. What does it mean to push past your limits? Is it option A, to stubbornly keep going and trying incredibly hard even when you mentally and physically feel fully exhausted? Option B, To intentionally disregard deeply important instructions during a highly dangerous and complicated legal process. Or option C, to actively predict the highly uncertain outcome of an upcoming global political event using advanced analytics.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
It's option A. To push past your limits is to stubbornly keep going even when you feel fully exhausted.
Like pushing past your limits to meet a crazy product launch deadline. All right, last question. What is the underlying meaning of the expression, a turn of events? Option A, a highly consistent and entirely predictable pattern of emotional behavior maintained throughout a stressful day. Option B, a remarkably sudden, incredibly surprising, or completely unexpected shift within a perfectly normal situation. Or option C, a completely pointless and deeply hopeless professional task that is absolutely destined to fail from the start.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
And it is option B. A turn of events is a remarkably sudden, incredibly surprising, or completely unexpected shift within a perfectly normal situation.
Like a CEO resigning out of nowhere. Well, that wraps up the quiz. To quickly recap the 3 main takeaways of today's critique. First, tie the practice examples directly to the TED Talk's emotional theme. Second, separate administrative platform features from the educational content so you don't disrupt the flow. And third, reorder the vocabulary to create a logical narrative arc of resilience.
The vocabulary itself is really excellent. The quality of these selected expressions is top-notch. And honestly, with these tweaks, the potential impact of this material is just huge.
It really is. We actively invite the listener to implement these structural changes and submit their revised work back in for a future round of feedback. We'd love to see it.